Hello, citizen fan. In this video, you'll stay up to date with the latest news on Manchester City. But before we dive in, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any updates on our beloved city. The transfer window is coming to an end, and one name that could make waves during this period is James McAtee. The Manchester City midfielder is being monitored by several Premier League clubs, with Crystal Palace emerging as one of the main contenders for his signing. Bayer Leverkusen, which had previously shown interest in the player, ended up taking a different path by securing a loan deal for Emiliano Buendia from Aston Villa. As a result, the race for the 22-year-old midfielder has been limited to the English market, with West Ham, Nottingham Forest, and Brighton now weighing their options before the window closes. Crystal Palace, which has already secured the signing of Romain S. from Millwall for around £14.5 million, is still looking to strengthen its squad. Manager Oliver Glasner wants to bolster his team, especially in the attacking department, following their recent defeat to Brentford. With limited options in defense due to Trevoh Chalobah's departure, the club needs to balance its signings to maintain competitiveness this season. McAtee, who recently shone with a hat-trick in Manchester City's FA Cup victory over Salford City, has yet to establish himself in Pep Guardiola's squad. The Spanish coach acknowledges the young talent's potential, but the competition within the squad has made it difficult for him to get regular playing time. Although City is not actively pushing for his sale, a bid in the region of $25 million could be considered. So far, none of the interested clubs have made a concrete offer, but with the window nearing its end, the situation could change quickly. In addition to the English clubs, teams from Italy and Mainz in Germany have also expressed interest in the midfielder, seeing him as a key asset to strengthen their squads. Given this scenario, the big question remains: should McAtee stay at Manchester City and continue fighting for his place, or should he accept a transfer to gain more playing time? Leave your opinion in the comments. The transfer window is closing soon, but there are signs that Manchester City could still strengthen the defensive midfield before the deadline. The need for a holding midfielder has been debated for some time, as Guardiola has tested various options in the position without finding an ideal replacement for Rodri. So far, City has focused its efforts on the defensive sector, bringing in reinforcements such as Abdelkader Kusanov, Victor Rojas, and Christian McFarlane. However, the holding midfield position has yet to be strengthened, which is a concern for the fans. Sources in Italy indicate that Atalanta is open to negotiating Ederson, the Brazilian midfielder who has been impressing in Serie A. The Italian club is reportedly willing to sell him for around $50 million, and the player has been highly rated by City's scouting department for some time. Additionally, an unexpected opportunity has arisen with Juventus, who have reportedly offered Douglas Luiz to Manchester City. The Italian club is willing to negotiate a loan deal with an obligation to buy at the end of the season. The Brazilian, who previously had a stint at City, could return to help Guardiola for the remainder of the campaign. For now, Guardiola has been using Mateo Kovacic as his main option in the holding midfield role, but he has also tested Rico Lewis and Ilkay Gundogan in the position. However, the Spanish manager has ruled out using John Stones as a defensive midfielder, believing he is more effective alongside Rodri. With only a few days left until the window closes, the question remains: should Manchester City spend $50 million to secure Ederson, or should they gamble on Douglas Luiz on loan? Leave your comment on which option would be the best. Another major update for Manchester City is the return of Oscar Bob. The Norwegian forward, who suffered a leg fracture in August last year, is close to making his comeback. Bob had a promising start to the season, standing out during City's preseason tour in the United States. However, his progress was halted by a serious injury that required surgery and months of rehabilitation. Now, after a long period on the sidelines, he has returned to first-team training and could be available for the upcoming matches. Reports suggest that he has a slight chance of making the bench against Arsenal in the Premier League, but the greater expectation is that he will feature in the FA Cup clash against Leyton Orient. Guardiola may also choose to include him in the Champions League squad for the tie against Club Brugge. In addition to Bob, midfielder Rodri has also been a regular in training, although his recovery still requires more time. Initially, he was expected to miss the rest of the season, but there are now hopes of an earlier-than-anticipated return, which would be fantastic news for both City and the Spanish national team. Bob's return could be a valuable boost for City's attacking options, but will he be able to regain his rhythm quickly? Share your thoughts on what to expect from his comeback. Another name linked to Manchester City is Douglas Luiz. The Juventus midfielder is reportedly interested in returning to the English club and sees City as one of his preferred options as the window draws to a close. Despite City already investing over $130 million this month, the football department continues to monitor market opportunities. Douglas Luiz is a player who could bring balance to the midfield, and Juventus is willing to negotiate a loan deal with an option to buy. The question is whether Manchester City truly needs another defensive midfielder at this moment, or if they should wait until the summer to secure a more definitive solution. Guardiola has already ruled out some names, but Douglas Luiz could be a temporary fix for the team's midfield issues. Do you think Douglas Luiz would be a good option for City's midfield, or should the club look elsewhere? Share your opinion in the comments. Manchester City has officially announced the signing of Christian McFarlane, a left back developed by New York City FC. The 18-year-old arrives as yet another investment in promising young talent for the future. McFarlane is City's fifth signing of this transfer window, joining Vitor Rice, Abdulkader Kusanov, Juma Ba, and Omar Marmoush. Valued at around $2 million, he becomes the first player developed at New York City FC to play in the Premier League. Born in England, McFarlane moved to the United States as a child and made a name for himself in New York's youth system. He made his professional debut in 2024, and his performances caught attention due to his high passing accuracy and defensive quality. McFarlane joins Manchester City at an interesting time, as the club continues investing in young talents to ensure a smooth squad transition over the coming years. The City Football Group's philosophy has been clear. Identify promising players from around the world, integrate them into the club's playing system, and allow them to develop in a high-level environment. The 18-year-old left-back is no exception, and although it is unlikely he will get immediate minutes in the first team, he could benefit from strategic loan moves or an initial period with the under-23 squad. McFarlane's transition to English football could be challenging, particularly due to the difference in intensity between MLS and the Premier League. However, the player's track record suggests he can adapt quickly. His passing accuracy and defensive ability demonstrate a modern profile for the fullback position, something essential in a team managed by Guardiola. The Spanish coach prefers fullbacks who can contribute to build-up play and offer tactical versatility, and McFarlane could fit well into this model in the future. The arrival of the young left-back also raises questions about City's planning for the position. Currently, João Cancelo remains on loan at Barcelona, with no indications that he will return to the squad. Nathan Ake and Joško Gvardiol have been deployed as left-backs, but both are natural center-backs. Meanwhile, Sergio Gomez, signed as a fullback, has been used sparingly. This suggests that the club may be thinking ahead and viewing McFarlane as a long-term solution for the role. Manchester City's transfer policy in recent years shows a preference for developing their own talents rather than spending fortunes on ready-made players. Cases like Phil Foden, Cole Palmer, before his move to Chelsea, and even Rico Lewis illustrate this approach. The question now is whether McFarlane can follow this path or if he will need experience elsewhere before earning a place at the Etihad Stadium. What do you think, City fans? Does McFarlane have the potential to be City's future starting left-back, or will the club still need to sign more experienced reinforcements? Share your thoughts in the comments. While McFarlane prepares to start his journey at Manchester City, James McAtee's situation remains unresolved. The young midfielder, who's shown in the academy and had loan spells at Sheffield United, is being monitored by several clubs, but his future is yet to be decided. McAtee has shown great potential, and his recent FA Cup performance, where he scored a hat-trick, reinforced his value. However, he faces stiff competition within City's squad. With players like Kevin De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva, Mateo Kovacic, and Phil Foden dominating the midfield, opportunities for McAtee have been limited. Crystal Palace, one of the main clubs interested in signing him, is looking for reinforcements to balance their squad after some key departures. Manager Oliver Glasner sees McAtee as a crucial piece to add creativity and dynamism to the attacking midfield. Additionally, West Ham and Nottingham Forest are also monitoring the player's situation. What makes this transfer even more complex is that Manchester City are not actively trying to sell McAtee. Guardiola values the player and is happy to keep him in the squad, but the midfielder himself may desire more playing time. This uncertainty keeps the market alert to his situation, especially with the transfer window nearing its end. Another factor that could influence McAtee's decision is his openness to a move abroad. Clubs from Serie A and Bundesliga side Mainz have expressed interest in the midfielder. Mainz, in particular, sees McAtee as a player who could help in their push for European competition qualification, which might be an attractive prospect for the young talent. City have set a price of $25 million to let McAtee go, but so far, no club has submitted a formal offer in that range. If no concrete bid arrives in the coming days, the most likely scenario is that he will remain at the Etihad Stadium at least until the end of the season. What do you think, City fans? Should McAtee look for a new club to get more game time, or should he stay and fight for his place at City? Share your thoughts in the comments. Beyond the developments around McAtee, another major discussion among Manchester City fans is the need to strengthen the defensive midfield position. With Rodri as the team's main reference in the role and few reliable alternatives to replace him, the club could make a final move before the transfer window closes. Atalanta have already indicated they are open to negotiating Brazilian midfielder Ederson for around $50 million. The player has been outstanding in Serie A and is seen as a modern midfielder, capable of operating as both a defensive anchor and a more advanced box-to-box player. His physical strength and ball-winning ability make him an appealing target for City. Another name that has emerged in recent days is Douglas Luiz. The Brazilian, currently at Juventus, has reportedly been offered to Manchester City on a loan deal with an obligation to buy. Douglas Luiz previously signed for City but never played for the first team, moving to Aston Villa before establishing himself as one of the Premier League's top midfielders. The question facing City now is whether it is worth investing in a new defensive midfielder immediately or waiting until the next transfer window to secure a higher-profile target. Guardiola has used Mateo Kovacic and even Rico Lewis in the role, but neither provides the same defensive solidity that Rodri brings to the team. With crucial matches ahead, including a direct Premier League clash against Arsenal and an FA Cup fixture, the decision to sign a new defensive midfielder could be crucial in keeping the team competitive in the final stretch of the season. Manchester City's activity in the transfer market reflects a meticulous and highly calculated strategy, hallmarks of the Guardiola era. The club not only invests in emerging talents like McFarlane, but also remains attentive to structural gaps in the squad, such as the need for a reliable backup for Rodri. Since his arrival, Pep Guardiola has revolutionized how City operates both on and off the pitch. Under his leadership, the club not only dominates possession and imposes a highly technical style of play, but also manages its squad with surgical precision. Every signing, sale, and contract renewal is made with a long-term vision, ensuring that the team remains competitive across multiple fronts: Premier League, Champions League, FA Cup, and other tournaments. With that in mind, the potential signing of a defensive midfielder before the transfer window closes becomes even more significant. Rodri's physical wear and tear over the course of the season has been evident, and Guardiola has already expressed concern over the lack of depth in that position. Calvin Phillips's injury, coupled with the fact that Mateo Kovacic and Bernardo Silva are not specialists in the role, reinforces the need for a defensive reinforcement. If City opts for Atalanta's Ederson, they will be acquiring a midfielder with similar traits to Fernandinho: dynamic, combative, and capable of contributing both defensively and in build-up play. On the other hand, Douglas Luiz would bring a different approach, one that is more technical and associative, making him a versatile piece in midfield. The big question, however, is whether Guardiola truly believes a reinforcement is necessary now, or if he trusts the current squad to sustain intensity until the end of the season. His track record shows that he prefers to work with streamlined squads, valuing tactical adaptability and player versatility. However, the physical demands of the Premier League and the challenge of maintaining European dominance may force him to reassess this approach. While City works on McFarlane's development and evaluates potential midfield signings, a bigger question looms over the club's future. How will the transition to the next generation unfold? The current squad includes experienced pillars like Kevin De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva, and Kyle Walker, but the board has already started preparing for the future. The rise of young players like Rico Lewis, Oscar Bob, and the recent integration of Savinho demonstrate a clear effort to gradually renew the squad without compromising immediate performance. Savinho, in particular, is one of the most promising talents under the coaching staff's watch. The Brazilian has impressed with his dribbling ability, physical explosiveness, and attacking versatility. Although currently on loan at Girona, his performances in La Liga suggest he could be a valuable asset for City in the coming seasons. Furthermore, the arrival of young players like McFarlane and the potential acquisitions of dynamic midfielders indicate a subtle shift in City's playing style. Guardiola has always prioritized possession and territorial control, but there are signs that he may be shaping the team to become even more aggressive and direct in the coming years. This brings us to a crucial point. To what extent is the current management preparing City for a post-Guardiola era? The Spanish manager's contract runs until 2025, and while there is speculation about a possible extension, the reality is that the club must be ready to maintain its level of competitiveness should he decide to leave. Another key factor in City's future is the role of the City Football Group, CFG, in the club's global expansion. With franchises across the world, including Girona, Spain, New York City FC, USA, and Melbourne City, Australia, the organization has built a unique structure for talent recruitment and development. This network makes it easier to identify young prospects like McFarlane and allows City to maintain a constant pipeline of potential first-team players. Savinho himself is a prime example of this. Acquired by CFG and developed in Spanish football before being considered for City's senior squad, the impact of this approach is already visible. Girona, for instance, is having a remarkable season in La Liga, competing at the top of the table thanks to a core of players connected to CFG. This model enables Manchester City to test players in different contexts before integrating them into the first team, reducing risks and maximizing returns on investment. If the club continues to operate this way, City's dominance on the European stage is likely to extend for many years, regardless of Guardiola's departure. The structure is in place for a smooth transition, and the next generation of players is already being groomed to take over when needed. As the season enters a decisive phase, Manchester City finds itself at a critical juncture. The team remains in contention for all competitions, and despite some uncertainties within the squad, continues to be one of the strongest sides in Europe. The coming weeks will be crucial in determining the team's trajectory. If Guardiola chooses to reinforce the squad with a new defensive midfielder, it could provide a significant boost for the challenges ahead. If he opts to stick with the current setup, City will rely on the physical resilience of its key players to maintain performance levels on all fronts. The adaptation of young talents like McFarlane and the progression of players like Rico Lewis and Savinho will also be key factors to monitor. These players represent the future of the club, and their development could define City's long-term dominance. Regardless of what happens, one thing is certain. Manchester City remains an unstoppable force, and its strategic planning shows that the club is always one step ahead of the competition. And you, City fan? What are your expectations for the rest of the season? Do you think the club needs reinforcements, or do you trust the current squad to bring home more trophies? Share your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed the content, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any updates about our Manchester City. See you next time.